You know, I can't quite help but think it looks like it's pogging.
Is there a way that somebody like we could change this endless winding road we know is fate? Is it too late? Why do you not see that someone like me is far too weak to be the one to set the world free? I'm just a kid, I haven't lived even half as long a life as you. The rules I break, friends I embrace, and the problems of each day are ingrained in my memory like tattoos. But when I had stood at the edge of a cliff, my despair pulled me down to an endless abyss. And that's for the first time my young eyes could see that there's more to this world than me. Someday I'll fly to a white field of hope and a place much greater than all I have known. This world never ends, its horizon extends far beyond all that my eyes see. It's calling me I want to understand just who I truly am.
Hello and welcome back to another Moderoid review. Today we're taking a look at the beautiful Rahxephon. And as always, starting out with the articulation. The head is actually on a double joint in here, just because of the design. While it can actually turn, and with the wings down it turns a little less, but even then the chin piece comes down so far that like you're not getting a crazy amount of rotation there, but it can look left and right. The shoulder is actually a separate piece in here, which is on a ball joint up into it, so that has no trouble just completely getting out of the way. But also the joint in here is kind of hard to describe. It there's a ball joint in here, and it lets it come forward and up in that. The very sharp parts on this is kind of hard to show off the articulation. Anyway, shoulder, completely fine. Can get across the chest. Second ball joint, hinge, rotation. Surprisingly, there's actually a rotation here. Then there's a rotation. These joints are kind of tight, as you can see by the stress mark in the plastic. Double jointed elbow, though you get more in because of the cut rather than out this way. This one gets 90 degrees though, so you get over 90 degree even forward, but you get a pretty much full bend inward, even more than you can use actually. And the hands are actually on ball joints, as little as they actually really needed it. Honestly, I kind of wish they had gone with the Ixer just peg system for this, because I kind of feel like this is unnecessary. There is a ball joint in the way chest. I took the head off because it was kind of getting in the way. There is actually a ball joint here in the chest, though I gotta be honest, kind of gotta pull it down to get any sort of movement out of it, and even then it's not much. It's more just an aid to make the lower joint look a little less awkward when it's turning. Lower joint, on the other hand, tons of range. Just kind of separating the parts a little bit on the back now, unfortunately, but it's fine. This design is, I'm frankly surprised they put as much articulation into it as they did. Hips are universal joints, just peg, hinge, peg. So, you know, you get front and back, out to the side, swivel at the thigh. Though, because of this piece, you actually want to like move it out on that peg a little bit so it can come out further to get the hip up Also, because of the way that it's cut, if you move it out, you can actually bring it in more to have the legs crossed, which is something that Rahxephon does in quite a few poses, so it makes sense. It is a double jointed knee. You get over 90 at the bottom, though it does open up this. And you get, what? 15, 20 degrees there? Basically, that's as close to a full bend as you're going to get. It's over 90. The fact this thing can kneel down at all is impressive, considering it's mostly leg. Like, and the toe can hinge front and back, and the ankle is actually on a ball joint. Of course, given the 2-point high heel design, you don't really need a ball joint on the front anyway. It's mostly the wider back that works for the actual stability, so works completely fine. Ultimately, the articulation on this is pretty friggin' good. I don't really see any limitations due to engineering. It's pretty much just because of the actual design. And what articulation is there works around the design really well to pretty much let you put this in whatever pose you want. Now, before we get into accessories, let's talk about color correction. There isn't a sticker sheet. There's a water slide sheet, but we'll get to that. The Rahxephon itself isn't actually that bad. Effectively, you have to paint like a little bit of orange and a little bit of gold and some of the purple trim. That said, the gold plastic they use is kind of so I went ahead and painted all the gold, which also means that it's consistent, but yeah, parts that are plastic, pretty much everything. Parts that need to be painted as gold, the circle on the shoulder, which I feel like could have been separated, and the little bit of gold on the back wing, I guess you'd call it. I understand why that's not separated. I mean, that is a thin piece. That's understandable. That probably could have been separated. As for orange, the only orange you need to paint is the stripes in the chest, and honestly, considering that was already on a runner that had the gold painted orange, it feels kind of like they just forgot. But very, very easy to paint that with a little bit of orange. I just used the same translucent orange I was using in some other spots for that, and then it was 2 coats, you can't even tell the difference. All the other orange on this is all translucent parts, and I probably should have painted the inside of that brown or something, but it's not that noticeable, and besides it's on the back. Otherwise, purple trim on the upper knee, bottom knee, like, most of the purple is separated, but the top area of the knee here needs paint. All this purple is plastic, this purple is plastic, this stripe, which is only supposed to be on the front, don't really even know why they molded it on the back there, but that needs paint, and the trim around the top of the shoulder, mostly, you can't really see that, so don't worry about that, but this area, inside and up around, that needs purple trim too. Aside from that, the eyes on this were not painted, which, I mean, it's a little red dot. I ended up just painting it red and then going back in with like a runny purple around it just so that it came out fine, but if you just went in with a small brush and tapped it, it would look pretty much identical. Aside from that, you have to pull off the head and remove these wings, finally, just so I can actually show it off, that all the orange on the head is pre-painted. And considering there's 2 variants of the purple piece and 4 different faces that are all fully painted, aside from panel lining, that's pretty good. Ah yes, there is one other thing that I forgot about until now. Speaking of brown, the circles on the palms are all brown. So you have to paint that on all of them. It's actually not really noticeable outside of the open hands, but it is there on all of them, so paint that. And finally, before we actually get into the accessories proper, I do just want to point out the back of the neck is hollow, and I don't know why. They totally could have added just like 1 extra part to fill that in, and it's only irritating to me because that gap is there on the back of the neck. it's actually harder to see the front of the neck than it is to see the back, so I don't really know why they left that open. That is like the only complaint I have about the sculpting on this entire thing, is they should have given us a second piece for the neck. Okay, now getting into the actual accessories. Let's start with the face again, because like I said, you do get focus. Like I said, you do get 2 purple and 4 different faces, and this is probably the easiest way for me to show off the difference, is this one covers the eyes, this one doesn't. As for faces, you get 2 with red eyes. I know you can't see about this one, but trust me, open and closed, it's pretty much the same sculpt between them. And 2 with gold eyes, which I think are more supposed to be like glowing, but it gets the point across. Again, you get open and closed for both of those. So basically the 4 faces are just the 2 different eyes with open and closed mouths. And then you can choose whether to cover the eyes or not. Final accessory for the head, you do actually get, of course, the open wings as well. And that kind of leads into, take the head off again because it's easier this way. The other thing that I'm going to warn you all about is definitely don't leave the pegs on this alone, because especially the ones on the actual head that you can see here, the purple pieces attach onto those. I've pretty much cut them down to half or 2/3 the length they were originally, because these are delicate and kind of pointy and not the easiest thing to pull off of a faceplate. Just save yourself the trouble, cut that down a bit. The more important one is the peg that you can see is clearly cut down in there. Well, if it wants to focus on it, yeah, I've pretty much removed that peg almost. I've left it there just enough to sit in and basically hold the face in the right position, because on the back of all the heads anyway, there's a peg that holds it in to the actual face. So you don't actually really need that secondary peg, and it just kind of... It's easier to take this off now. There's the eyes. But, yeah. Easy to just pop this out this way now, because I can just get my nail underneath the chin, pull it off. You can see what I mean about this just plugging in anyway, so... Kind of feels like the original engineering on this was, people are just going to pick a face and not want to swap them anyway. If you want to actually be able to swap the faces without having to basically disassemble the entire head and take out a part separator, just trim down those pegs. I'm just going to put this back on here because that part's very small and it's actually easier to do. There we go. Face I'm actually displaying it with. Saves me trouble later when I'm putting this on my shelf after I record. You want to just down like that, push it in, come on. There we go. On. Take whichever wings you're going to do and you're just going to shove them into those pegs. A little bit on the thin side, but just, you know, work them in. I'll just cut ahead of this anyway. And I am a little bit worried about those pegs wearing down over time if you swap them a lot, but I've only swapped them like 2 or 3 times, and it got rid of like the harshness of the first time, and now it's just kind of fitting fine. Now, as for hands, you get 6 hands, but 2 closed fists, 2 open palms. I will say the sculpt on these is pretty good, and they didn't go too hard on the webbing between the fingers, which Moderoid has a bit of a bad habit of just webbing the hands to hell because they can't figure out how to make the fingers not break, I guess. These ones are fine. They're not that bad. It's there, but it's not really noticeable. You get 1 hand for guiding the arrow, and the other hand to hold the arrow. Now, these are the accessories. You get the blade and the bow. And unfortunately, 2 things. 1, they put these all on the orange runner, even though they're not supposed to be orange. They're supposed to be, well, like a gold and yellow glow. I mean, translucent yellow probably would have been the closest, but obviously I went with the red arrow, because if I'm going to pose this with the arrow ever, it's going to be with the red arrow. Red works fine for airbrushing, but I could not turn this yellow, so I just put a gold kind of semi-particle... It was a weird thing I did with the airbrush, but it looks fine. Unfortunately, as you can see by the top there, mine came a bit warped, and if I can get lighting on it in a way that it'll actually pick it up on camera. Well, I took a picture, I'll put it in. Yeah, there's a fracture in it, unfortunately. Of course, the arrow is also a little bit bent, but that's not as big of a deal. How you put these on, this one's not as bad, because you just pull this off and put it where that one is, basically. This one's a little more involved, and since I don't plan on posing it with this anyway, I don't really want to have to pull this apart. But basically, those little pegs is how the gold piece attaches onto the orange piece in the arm. So you pull this whole chunk off, swap this purple on to the back of this, could have just gave us an extra one, and then plug this onto where the 3 pegs are. I don't want to have to screw with that, and I'm kind of worried I'll break it. So I'm not going to show that off, but it's showing on the back of the box anyway. It was bad enough having to swap the hands for the review, because I had the open ones on originally, and yeah, guess what? The ball socket for the hands is also on the translucent orange plastic, so a little bit on the tight side. In fact, I'm not entirely sure how... I'll try and get these out. The accessories are fine. If mine wasn't bent, I would be more willing to actually pose it with this. But also, I feel like the actual engineering wasn't designed in a way that they intended you to take this off, because it's on there. Even only being held down by 3 little tabs, I don't really want to try and pry it off. Oh yeah, and they also include a little stand adapter. It's just a little right angle. Honestly, it's not super necessary, because it's just a 3mm peg anyway, but I decided to use it just so I don't accidentally stress the plastic or something. And finally, for accessories, you do get Rahxephon. Come on, you want to focus? Not really. Yeah, entirely white plastic. You have to paint it. It's a little statue. Comes with a little foot holder, but honestly, stands fine without it. Also, the bottom of the feet are hollow anyway, so you just shove a little bit of blue tack in there and it wouldn't fall over. Very nice that they included this. It's important thematically to Rahxephon. It's good that they included this. There's just not a lot to talk about because it's just a static statue. I can say that they actually include 4 pairs of eyes on the water slide in case you screw up. That's nice of them. And as for a quick size comparison, no, I didn't forget to record this until after I put it up on a stand. Look, this is the first thing I'm recording in like 6 months. Cut me a little slack. My tiny, adorable cutting board is about the same length as the leg. This is a pretty sizable model. There's not a ton in the way of what you would call inner frame in it, but pretty good color separation. I mean, the size is there. And also, for any of you wondering, the statue is like 8 centimeters-ish. So, to wrap this review up, the Moderoid Rahxephon is really, really good. I'm a little bit biased because of how much I love Rahxephon's design, but they did a good job with it. The part separation is pretty much perfect. The amount of paint you have to put into it's really minimal for a Moderoid, frankly. But they did a good job with the engineering. There's basically 0 seam lines on the entire thing, though my copy had some kind of nasty mold lines on the front of the shoulders due to how they molded them. I don't really think that's a common problem. I haven't really seen other people complain about it, but you might have to sand that down a bit. The thing is, there's literally no other mold lines on the entire rest of the kit, so I can kind of forgive that. Though I also kind of feel like they could have just done that slightly differently. Regardless, this is going to look beautiful on my shelf. In fact, you're seeing how I'm going to be displaying it. It looks real good. Rahxephon's a great show, and it's nice to finally get a good Rahxephon to have on a shelf. As long as you don't mind a little bit of painting. If you're a fan of Rahxephon, or if you have any interest in this design, pick this up, put the work in, get something beautiful out of it. And that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. Subscribe and hit the bell to be alerted for future reviews. Come chill in the Discord. Follow me on Twitter, if that's even still around. And consider supporting me on Patreon so I can keep bringing you videos like this. And, as always, until next time, happy building.